So, good morning everyone and welcome to Ramsgate. It is a beautiful spring morning here. The sun is shining. It's a bit windy and a bit fresh, but very nice temperature, not too bad. I'm staying here this weekend. I made the journey from Canterbury last night. It's just a half an hour drive. This town is 78 miles from London, so you can get to London in about an hour and a half. It's one of these really beautiful towns on the Kent coastline. So we're in an area of Kent called the Isle of Thanet, sort of northeast Kent, and this part of the country is known for its beautiful beaches. But Ramsgate itself is quite a historic town. It's got the Harbour, the Marina, it's got a royal harbour which is unique in the UK. It's got that really interesting old-fashioned architecture as well, but just a great selection of nightlife, shops, bars, cafes and things like that, and it's just a fantastic town that I really enjoy visiting. So I'm going to be having an explore of the town today, get to know it a little bit better, do some sightseeing and hopefully understand it a bit better. I'm really excited to be here, so yeah, let's have an explore of this really fascinating town. So right now I'm walking down a part of the town called Nelson Crescent. Because of the geographical location of the town, there is a strong connection to maritime history. Therefore, a lot of the places are named after people associated with the Navy and maritime affairs, and Nelson Crescent is a good example of that. But also lots of famous people have lived here and worked here over the years, so there are some plaques on buildings, so let's have a look at some of those to see the famous people who have stayed here. So the first interesting blue plaque is here at the Royal Harbour Hotel, and this is commemorating Wilkie Collins, who was a writer and novelist and stayed here during the 1870s. So due to its beautiful location on the coast, and maybe because of its proximity to London as well, this town has attracted a lot of intelligent people, artists, writers, painters, who have come here to work to get inspiration, but also just for holidays and things like that. And tourism is still the main industry in the town. So in the Victorian era, it became very popular as an upmarket resort for wealthy people to come to go on holidays and trips from London and other parts of the UK. And that continued really until about the 60s or the 70s, when people started traveling abroad on package holidays to places like Spain, Portugal and Greece. Nowadays, there's kind of a revival going on for the local tourism, for people wanting to go on holiday in the UK. Towns like Ramsgate, Margate and places like that have reinvented themselves as a kind of retro style destination for city breaks, long weekends. Got a really interesting atmosphere. You can feel the history, and just that combined with the incredible views and the incredible beach and coastline makes it a really fantastic place to spend time. So the second interesting blue plaque that I want to look at is this one. This commemorates Charles Darwin, who, as you can see, stayed here in 1850. So although I don't think he actually lived here, he did spend time here on holiday. And this house is actually up for sale at the moment. I imagine it is an expensive house due to its historical connections and its location. Darwin was originally from Shrewsbury in Shropshire, but he spent much of his adult life in the county of Kent. He lived in a town called Bromley, just outside London, and apparently he came here on holiday with his family to get fresh air and also to do some research to look at shells and different types of mollusks on the beach that he encountered. Darwin is a fascinating character. I've always had a strong interest in his work and his life, so it's really great to be able to visit this house where he stayed in 1850. So the next interesting spot I want to share is called Spencer Square, and this is where the Ramsgate Tennis Club is. You can see people playing tennis. It's such a nice day today. People are making the most of the good weather. So this is the next really interesting blue plaque that commemorates the time that Vincent van Gogh lived in Ramsgate in the year 1876. The Dutch painter, artist, post-impressionist painter who stayed here during that year. I read online that he worked as a teacher during his time in Ramsgate, and that he gained a lot of inspiration from the proximity to the sea, the beautiful coastline, but also the ships and boats that used to come and go into the harbour. Yeah, so check out the really beautiful architecture here on Spencer Square. And they've even got a small sculpture of the bust of Van Gogh here in Spencer Square, which is really cool. I'm a big fan of Van Gogh, so this is awesome for me. You can have a look at the plaque at the bottom. It said that Vincent lived in Spencer Square in the summer of 1876 and was very happy here. The sculptor is someone called Anthony Paget, and it was unveiled on the 15th of June 2019. And if we have a closer look at the sculpture, there are some really interesting details here that the sculptor has chosen to include. First of all, you've got the sunflowers, which are iconic paintings that Van Gogh did, maybe his most famous paintings. We've got the books, so he was obviously a big reader. Collections of letters that he sent to his brother Theo, because he kept in constant correspondence with his brother Theo. So these might be a collection of his letters. We've got a revolver, a gun, because we know that Vincent van Gogh committed suicide by shooting himself in the stomach. We've got some oil paint tubes and brushes, and we've got some pipes. He was obviously a smoker. And we've got a shaving knife or razor, which might be in reference to when he cut half his ear off, or his earlobe at least, off during a time when he stayed with Paul Gogh in the south of France. Yeah, this looks like what would be a box of paints, and you can see the sculptor Anthony Paget has signed it at the back. So a really beautiful sculpture this, and a fitting tribute to an incredible artist who stayed here. You can see why so many different people have chosen to come here, live here, work here, study here, because it really is a special town with a special atmosphere, very historic, but just a beautiful coastline with incredible views over the sea and onto the harbour and that kind of thing. So packed full of history, and therefore you can see all these blue plaques around for commemorating people who have stayed here. Right now I'm on a street called Addington Street, which is one of these really beautiful quirky streets in Ramsgate town centre with interesting lanes going off it, and it's got a very historic feel. So my friend who lives here told me that this actually used to be the old high street in Victorian times. You can actually see that still, because now it's a mix of residential properties like flats and houses and things like that, but also old pubs, cafes, bars and those kind of establishments. There's lots of old buildings that have been turned into modern ones, so old pubs that have been turned into shops, hotels that have been turned into houses. There's even a chapel that's been turned into a house. Yeah, you can really feel the character and the kind of spirit of modern Ramsgate on this street, with its variety of different galleries and bars and pubs and things like that. It's a really interesting spot in the town. So there is actually a plaque on this street, a blue plaque, just above this coffee shop. The original town centre of Ramsgate, this street has been the focal point for shopping, eating and celebrating throughout its history, hosting Napoleonic garrisons and mess halls, as well as holding many celebrations for large events such as the relief of Mafeking during the Second Boer War. It suffered heavy bombarding during the First and Second World Wars. So that puts into context a little bit the history of this street. You can see this pub called the Falstaff. You can see the sign at the top. It has the shepherd's neem style sign, so it's obviously a shepherd's neem pub, which is a brewery in Faversham. Check out the original tiling on this entrance to the pub, the Full Staff Inn. Really beautiful old school tiling there, and on the floor as well. What is it like living in Ramsgate?
It's actually lovely. It's wonderful. It's really calm, serene, peaceful. Community's good, people are friendly. And the sea of course.
Can't go wrong. What's the best thing about living here? Is there one thing you could put your finger on?
The calmness after living in London for so long. It's nice and calm, and the community vibe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good. And what about the worst thing? Is there anything you don't like about it?
No. I don't. Apart from the fact that things are closing in the town, which is sad.
That is sad,
yeah, things are getting. Just we've lost some really key places recently, so it's just a little bit sad.
Is Ramsgate a good place for dog owners?
Excellent place for dog owners. You get to meet a lot of people. I often know more people by their dog's name than their name. So this is Joni.
Oh, okay. And how old's Joni?
2.5.
Oh, quite young.
Yeah. So
okay.
we walk every morning on the Esplanade and meet lots of different people with dogs.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Nice one.
So it's nice.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so people in the town seem really friendly, which is good because it means you can talk to people, have a chat. I get that impression actually. The lady mentioned about the community. It seems like there is a really strong community here and people are friendly and chatty on the whole, which is awesome. So yeah, you don't get that everywhere, so that's great. Right, so I'm just walking down some steps down to the Harbour and Marina area. I'm excited to be next to the water. It's always a buzz when you live not by the sea to check out the sea for the first time, so yeah. So this is an interesting piece of history right at the base of the steps. This is called the Sailors' Church, and it says here on the sign it was founded in 1878 by Christchurch Ramsgate as a harbour mission and sailors' home. Fishing fleet apprentice or smack boys lived upstairs when ashore. Wow, lovely little church. Completely open to the public as well, which is nice. Yep, so we've got a model of a lighthouse, boat in a bottle, which is a very classic thing. Here we've got the model of a war sloop, this boat here. Really beautiful models of ancient ships and boats. Really nice small exhibition here. Right at the back of the church. Yeah, it's a really beautiful little church actually, well worth checking out, and you can really feel all of the history, so yeah, really cool. So check out the exterior of the Sailors' Church. Really beautiful old red brick building, and at the top you can see they've got the anchor and rope, which is a nautical symbol obviously. This building here is the Ramsgate home for smack boys, founded in 1881. I saw on the sign for the church that smack boys are apprentice sailors, and that's where that name comes from. So we're right on the marina now, and it's such a clear day. You can see all the ships and the boats very clearly in all their glory, and this is just an incredibly beautiful spot. We've even got some yachts. So have a look at this arcade of arches that is built into this curved wall below the road. These are all different shops and restaurants, bars and things like that now. Have a look at the crests or the coat of arms on the wall. You can see this is the Cinque Port crest, and Cinque Port are a historic conglomeration of ports on the East Kent coast, and Ramsgate is one of them. I think in the middle that might be the Ramsgate crest, but I'm not sure. And then you've got the White Horse of Kent. Some of the boats on Ramsgate Harbour have historic significance, including this one called the Starbuck, and you can see it's got its own lifeboats at the back as well. A really beautiful boat. So this is known as a historic vessel, a Ramsgate historic vessel, and was built in 1943. During World War II, it served in flotillas escorting convoys to Egypt armed with twin 303 machine guns. In 1945, she was decommissioned from the Navy and joined the Brixham Devon fishing fleet under the name Our Lady Lou. The name was changed to Starbuck in 1973, and it was bought in 2016 and birthed in Ramsgate as a living sailing piece of maritime history. And somebody is having a paddleboard today. Good day for it. Wow, check out this historic car. Very cool. So I know this is a very popular cafe in town, Coco Latino. People who live here tell me what a good place it is. This is the kind of place that I like. Arch 16 Ramsgate. It is a antique shop. Very interesting stuff. With an interesting mix of products. Got a lot of second-hand, but also antiques. Rugs, maritime history, really cool shop. We've got some books, sculptures. So what's it like living in Ramsgate?
Well, Ramsgate's a lovely place. It's it's got a beautiful harbour. I love the fact its proximity to France. It gives you this feeling of almost being in Europe. Some people may not like that, but I love the fact that you can just look over to France. and actually nip over there for a meal. But Ramsgate itself is it's got a slightly depleted shopping centre, and there's also a controversial airport that closed a few years back.
Manston.
And some of us are hoping it will reopen.
So what's the best thing if you had to choose one thing about living here?
It's the fresh air,
Okay.
which could be destroyed by the airplanes. It's one argument.
And how long have you had this shop?
About 12 years now.
Okay. And where did you learn to play the piano?
I had a recording studio in London, so in Camden Lock Studio. So I carry on.
Are you from London?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So on this walkway, there are lots of fishing shops, cafes, bars, shops and stuff like that. I think I picked a really good day to come because the weather's so good and it's nice and dry. What a beautiful spot, really cool. I'm going to walk a bit further down towards the harbour now.